look how far we've come, all the things we've done. Did it all with love, beauty from the bottom up. All I want is you, you're my favorite view, but there's nothing more, girl, you make my heart beat.
All right, so I'm not going to edit this shit. This is going to be me reading my book, You Are Not Broken. I'm going to save these chapters and I'm going to repost them for free on YouTube. I may even post it on Spotify and shit as chapters so that the information is out there. Don't get me wrong. It would be really cool to sell my book and make a ton of money. But I feel like this book is so much better than my first one. And I think the information in it is so valuable that I just want to get it out there. And I don't want to read it as an audiobook. So this is my my attempt to make that work. So whether you guys are interested in, I don't know, just fucking hanging out with me, I'll be reading the comments and shit as we go. I would like some feedback while we're going too. This is not going to be a very interesting thing, guys. I'm not going to be looking at the camera or interacting. I'm going to be looking down most of the time. So introduction. Before you read a word of this book, I need you to do something that might feel small, but is actually massive. Buy a journal. This is going to be a huge theme in the book. Not a cheap throwaway notebook you'll use in a week, or you'll lose in a week. Not something that you borrow from your kids' school supplies. I'm talking about a real journal, something solid, something that feels like it's meant to last, because what you're about to write inside of it is going to carry weight. It's going to be your roadmap, your mirror, your truth. You're going to be tasked with a lot of writing as you work through this. A lot of reflection, a lot of brutal honesty. And yeah, I get it. This might not sound fun. You might be rolling your eyes thinking I'm not a journaling person. Maybe writing's never been your thing. Maybe it sounds too Dear Diary for you. But let me make it clear. This isn't about making poetry. This isn't about perfect grammar or beautiful sentences. This is about survival, growth, and change. This is about saving your damn life from the patterns and cycles that you've been holding on, that have been holding on to you hostage for way too long. You guys can pause this shit as you go when I give journal prompts and do the journal thing, and we'll go that route. Also, if you guys vibe with what I'm doing and you want to actually buy a copy of my book, you can get it on Amazon, and there's signed copies on our website. Journaling lets you sit across from yourself and say things you've never had the guts to say out loud. It turns all that chaos in your head, the regrets, the confusion, the anger, the grief, into something tangible. It gives you a way to process what you've been through, to actually remember what matters, and to stop running from the truth. It makes you your own therapist. No appointments, no couches, just you, your truth, and the courage to write it down. And you're going to need that, because as we go deeper into this book, you're going to be asked some of the hard questions. You're going to confront parts of yourself that you've been avoiding. You're going to dig into your past, your relationships, your mistakes, your fears, your patterns, and none of that can stay floating around in your head. If you try to process it all mentally, it'll stay muddled up, jumbled, half-formed thoughts bouncing off the walls of your mind with no place to land. But when you write it, you clarify. You give those thoughts structure. You start to see patterns. You start to connect the dots. And slowly, but surely, you begin to understand yourself. That's where real change begins. So if you haven't already, go get the journal, invest in it, make it yours. And when you crack it open for the first time, you know this. You're not just writing down your thoughts. You're rewriting the story of your life. I also want to be real about how this book came together. Unlike my first one, there wasn't some polished outline or neat structure going in. I didn't plan chapters ahead of time. I sat down and wrote whatever was weighing on me that day. Whatever I was thinking about, whatever I felt loud in my head or heavy on my heart, and that's what made it onto the page. So yeah, you might notice some repetition. You might read a thought I've said before, maybe in a different way, maybe not. That's not a mistake. It's because when something keeps coming up, it's usually because it matters. It needed to be said again. This book is messy on purpose because breakups are messy. Divorce is messy. Learning how to love yourself again after everything you've been through, that's chaotic as hell. And I wanted this book to feel like that. I want like real life, like sitting down with someone who's not going to sugarcoat it, but also won't leave you sitting in it alone. So if it feels a little all over the place sometimes, that's because healing is too, because it's honest, it's real, and it's written from the heart, not a checklist. Lastly, at the time of writing this introduction, my last book sold 1,600 copies. I know that's not a massive accomplishment in the book world. However, the fact that anyone cares enough about what I have to say is humbling. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to read this book. If you find value in it, share it with someone you know. Someone you know is hurting. Be the change you wish to see in the world, love and light. I guess the whole messy thing is ironic because I'm not editing any of this. So all of my mistakes and my blunders and my rereads and the things that Peaches would normally go, cut that, I'm not doing. I'm just going to leave the shit the way that it is. I will cut the intro and the outro so that there's the music and shit so that people have our little intro, but that's as far as that's going. Chapter 1, The Absent Father. I want to begin this book by revisiting something I said in my previous one, no one is coming to save you. That truth still holds, and in this context, it's even more important to say out loud. I'm intentionally repeating myself because we don't talk enough about the weight of a father's presence in the home. And more importantly, what happens when he's not there. We skate around it, blame circumstances, point fingers, but the absence is real and it matters. Too often men want to shift the blame onto women. They'll say, she won't let me see my kid. She's difficult. She turned the kid against me. She made it too hard. And if this lets them off the hook, as if this lets them off the hook. But here's the truth. Being an absent father is a choice. It might not be an easy one. It might be wrapped in conflict and resentment, but it is still a decision. Divorce is messy. Breakups hurt. Co-parenting is hard, but walking away, that's on you. You know what this is. Noise. Weak justification for giving up. Let's be honest. Most of the time when a man walks away, it's not because he can't be there. It's because he doesn't want to deal with it. The court drama, the tension, the uncomfortable visits, the hit to his ego. So he tells himself a story that lets him off the hook and he disappears. When things fall apart between two parents, yes, it gets complicated. There is drama. There's legal trouble. There's emotional warfare. But when a man decides not to show up for his child, what he's really saying is, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I trust that she'll handle it. And in many cases, she does. Mothers dig deep. They stretch themselves thin. They love in a way that's instinctive, almost primal, that's real. But just because they're willing doesn't mean that they should have to carry it all. But deep down, we know the truth. We know the mother will stay. We know she'll do what needs to be done because the bond between mother and child is visceral. It's wired into her. She'll stretch herself, break herself, lose sleep, lose peace, and still show up because she has to. And too often, that's what we as men count on. That she'll pick up the slack, that she'll fill in the emotional gaps, that she will do it all so that we don't have to. That's coward shit. The bond a mother has with her child is powerful, no question. But that doesn't mean fathers are optional. It doesn't mean that you get to disappear and hope love fills the gaps, because it won't. Your child feels that silence, that absence, that choice. Let me say this as clearly as I can. Being a father is not conditional. It doesn't hinge on whether your relationship with the mother works out. It doesn't depend on whether things are convenient. It doesn't stop because you're angry or tired or embarrassed or hurt. You don't get to check out because things didn't go your way. You think your kid doesn't feel the absence. You think they don't internalize the silence. Every time you don't show up, every time you miss a call, every birthday that passes without a visit or a phone call, that shit is remembered. It forms beliefs, it shapes identities, and it doesn't go away. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about pretending you'll never mess up, but this is about being accountable. It's about showing up even when it's hard, even when you're uncomfortable, even when you feel like you're not wanted, because fatherhood isn't about being the hero when it's easy. It's about being present when it's not. So if you're reading this looking for a way out, this ain't the book. But if there's a part of you, I want to be like, cut that. But if there's even a part of you that knows you've got more to give, this is your wake-up call. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save your kids. It's on you. Be the man, be the father, and show up. And then I have an excerpt from No One's Coming to Save You for those of you who didn't read my first book. I'm assuming that if you're listening to this audiobook or audio recordings, whatever, you probably didn't read the first book because you're waiting on audio file. I need to address something fundamental. We as men are failing in one of the most critical roles we hold, being present, engaged, and effective fathers. The statistics I'm about to share are stark and sobering. They drive home an undeniable truth. Fathers, or the lack of them, profoundly impact the lives of our children. This failure isn't entirely on us, but we must take ownership of it. Yes, the court system often feels stacked against us. Many of us face financial burdens that we can't shoulder, or we lack the emotional tools to fight for what's right. Some of us give up, defeated by self-doubt or a belief that we don't matter as much as we do. We tell ourselves these justifications, wrapping them in logic that feels true in the moment. But the ones paying the highest price for your absence or passivity is our children. The numbers don't lie. They show the consequences of stepping away or being forced out of this crucial role. They highlight how essential fathers, or at the very least positive male role models, are to the development, safety, and future of our children. This isn't about assigning blame or pointing fingers. It's about understanding the weight of our responsibility and the difference we can make when we show up, fight, and refuse to give up. Fathers play an irreplaceable role in the structure of families and the well-being of children. Yet in today's society, the conversation around their importance is often overshadowed. The statistics surrounding fatherlessness in America are stark and sobering, revealing the critical impact a father has on shaping the future of children, families, and communities. The rise of single fatherhood. The number of single fathers in the United States has nearly doubled over the past few decades, growing from 1.7 million in 1990 to 3.3 million in 2020, according to the National Institute of Health, NIH. Despite this growth, single-father households still represent a small fraction compared to approximately 15.09 million children living with single mothers. The discrepancy is significant, as the presence or absence of a father has far-reaching implications for children. Research shows, I probably shouldn't do that because people are going to be listening to this. I really just went while reading my book. Sorry, guys. Research shows that fatherless homes disproportionately contribute to some of society's most pressing challenges. Understanding these dynamics is key to addressing the broader issues of poverty, crime, education, and mental health. The impact of fatherlessness. The consequences of growing up in a fatherless home extend across multiple aspects of a child's life. Data compiled from FixYourFamilyCourts.com reveals 63% of youth suicides occur in fatherless homes. 90% of homeless and runaway children come from fatherless homes. 85% of children with behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts, 75% of adolescents in substance abuse centers, 70% of juveniles in state-operated institutions, and 85% of youths in prison all grew up without a father in the home. These numbers demonstrate the direct connection between fatherlessness and adverse outcomes, underscoring the vital role fathers play in providing stability, discipline, and emotional support. I got to get a drink. I apologize. Comparing single father and single mother households. When comparing single father households to single mother households, the disparities are equally revealing. Children raised by single fathers are statistically less likely to experience the severe negative outcomes often associated with fatherless homes. For example, children in single mother households are 9 times more likely to drop out of high school and 10 times more likely to abuse drugs compared to those by single fathers. They are 5 times more likely to commit suicide and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. While both single parent scenarios come up with challenges, single fathers tend to fare better in certain key areas, including financial stability. According to genderbread.org, 25% of fathers report not being concerned about their ability to pay for home necessities in the coming year. A significantly higher percentage than single mothers. Moreover, single fathers are more likely to have been married before becoming single parents and are less likely to experience mental health challenges compared to single mothers. The Mayo Clinic reports that women are twice as likely to suffer from depression and anxiety, conditions that can lead to further challenges in managing household and parental responsibilities. Why fathers matter. The role of the father is multifaceted, extending far beyond providing financial support. Fathers are critical for structure and discipline. Fathers often play a key role in establishing boundaries and in instilling discipline, creating an environment where children feel secure and understand consequences. Emotional stability. Fathers provide emotional support that helps children develop self-esteem and reliance. Children in father-present homes are less likely to exhibit behavioral problems or engage in risky activities. And positive role models. Fathers set examples for their children, shaping how boys perceive manhood and how girls form expectations of male behavior. This modeling significantly impacts their future relationships and life choices. Fatherlessness doesn't just affect individual families. It has profound implications for society as a whole. Single mother households are responsible for 70% of teenage pregnancies, and the bulk of filicide and child killing cases occur in these homes. Moreover, children from single mother households are 14 times more likely to commit rape, 32 times more likely to run away from home. These outcomes highlight the social consequences of father's absence, which often lead to cycles of poverty, crime, and mental health struggles that can span generations. The data paints a clear picture. The presence of a father significantly reduces likelihood of adverse outcomes in a child's life. Yet, systemic and cultural factors often undermine the role of fathers. The growing population of single fathers offers a potential solution, but these men face unique challenges. They are more likely to be younger. 18% of single fathers are under 30 compared to 8% of married fathers, and less educated, with 24% living at or below the poverty line. These challenges demand targeted support systems for single fathers, including parenting resources that equip fathers with the tools to navigate single parenthood, community programs that provide mentorship and financial assistance, legal reforms that prioritizes shared custody and equitable parenting responsibilities. Recognizing the importance of fathers is not about diminishing the role of mothers, but rather about addressing the critical gap in family dynamics that has far-reaching consequences. To everyone who bought my first book, thank you. I feel so weird reading this. The fact that you guys are just hanging out with me, listening to me read is wild. Seriously, your support means more than I can say, and if you're reading this now, flipping through these first pages, wondering why I've opened the book the way I have, just know there's a reason, a personal one. I'm a stepdad, and I wasn't always the man I should have been. I wasn't present for my kid the way that I should have been when I had the chance. I wasn't consistent. I didn't show up like I should have. I told myself it was complicated. I told myself I had time, but time doesn't wait for you to get your shit together, and I miss moments I'll never get back. Now, I found myself raising 2 children who aren't biologically mine. I love them like they are, and being in their lives has truly been a blessing to me. Every day I see opportunities I squandered, the hugs I didn't give, the games I didn't play, the questions I didn't ask. I see the void I left behind for my own, and it hurts in ways I don't think I can fully explain. I'm writing this from a place of shame, from regret, but also from gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to do better now. Even if I didn't before, gratitude for the clarity that pain brings, for the knowledge I finally understand and now get to pass down, even if I didn't learn it soon enough. Driving to work this morning, I thought about my own stepdad. I must have been 7 or 8. I remember standing in the yard with a football in my hand, bright orange, white laces, way too big for me. My little hands could barely grip it. I couldn't throw it right. I couldn't catch it either. No matter how many times I tried, the ball would hit the ground and bounce off my chest. I felt clumsy, embarrassed, frustrated, and honestly, I was probably super annoying in the process. But he didn't get mad. He didn't sigh or walk away. He just kept showing up over and over. Tossing that ball back to me, adjusting my hands, telling me to keep my eye on it, encouraging me even when I fumbled it for the 10th time in a row. He didn't have to do that. He wasn't my biological father. There was no court order, no obligation, no bloodline saying that he had to pour into me. Jesus, I wasn't expecting to get emotional. But he chose to. Now, was it from love or to make my mother happy? Who knows? But at that point in my life, it doesn't matter why, just that he did. And as a kid, I didn't get it. I didn't realize that what he was giving me. I thought we were just playing catch, but now as a grown man with my own regrets, I see it for what it really is. A man stepping into the empty space left by somebody else. A man trying to teach me something more than how to throw a football. Patience, commitment, persistence. That football was one of the first things he taught me, but it wasn't the last. Some of it was good, some of it not so much, but all of it was lessons. All of it mattered, and all of it was his choice. That's what hits me now. He chose to show up just like I have, just like you do. This book isn't just for dads. It's not just for guys who nailed fatherhood or think they've got it all figured out. This book is for men like me, the ones carrying guilt, The ones who feel the sting of lost time, the ones trying to learn, the ones who are ready to show up and be better, even if they weren't before. It's never too late to show up. So yeah, I started this book the way that I did because it's personal. This is my life. This is my healing. This is me finally stepping up in ways I wish I had years ago. If that's where you are too, keep reading. We've got a lot of work to do. Now that I've laid all that out, let me tell you what went down yesterday. This is probably gonna make me cry. I was exhausted, completely mentally fried. My stepkids, 6 and 7, practically twins, loud, wild, emotional, relentless, were at full volume from the moment they woke up. Bickering over who had what first, whining about snacks, crying over spilled nothing, jumping off of furniture like the floor was lava. It was chaos, full blown, no escape, sensory overload, chaos. I could feel myself snapping inside, not out loud, but internally, like a wire slowly twisting until it finally breaks. I was ready to lose it, not just annoyed. I'm talking about red hot, irrational frustration that makes you want to yell, ground everyone for life, throw every damn toy in the trash, and declare a silent, screenless dictatorship. I didn't, obviously. I didn't do any of that, but I came close. Instead, I looked at my wife probably with crazy eyes and just said, I can't do this right now. I can't do this, not right now. I'm overstimulated, overstressed, and barely keeping it together. My neurodivergent brain is short-circuiting and I need out. She got it. She didn't question it, didn't push back. She said, I understand. She told me she loved me and gave me space. I left for the studio, that little sanctuary where I can breathe, create, reset, and I put in some work, blasted a few rounds of Call of Duty, sat in my silence. After a couple hours, I felt like a person again. Not just a dad, not just a husband, not just a walking pressure cooker, but myself. When I came back to the house, I was tired. Kids were winding down. Wife looked like she had run a marathon, but I was calm. I recharged enough to talk like a human, not a ticking time bomb. I opened up about everything. The overwhelm, the stress, the noise inside my head, and we started a conversation. One we're going to keep having over the next few days about our future, our money, and where we're going, how to manage life, real stuff, heavy but necessary. You know what I didn't do in all that? I didn't take it out on the kids. We played the quiet game. I had a moment where I told everyone, literally everyone, including the damn dogs, to stop moving. Just stop, freeze. I needed silence. I needed a second to breathe, to say what I needed to say to my wife, and to walk out without causing a scene, and I did. That's growth. Because my kids aren't going to grow up seeing somebody emotionally explosive, man wrecking the room. They're going to see someone who says the hard thing in the hard moment, who doesn't pretend that everything's fine, who's honest even when messy, and who treats them like humans, not punching bags. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't believe in lying to kids just because they're kids, but I do believe in protecting them from what isn't theirs to carry. So after that moment, I thought about my stepdad a lot. I was a nightmare as a kid. I was angry, stubborn, destructive. I wonder if he hated me back then like I hated him. He was the enforcer when my mom was already breaking me down emotionally. I don't think that they meant to fuck me up. I really don't. I think they were doing what they thought made sense. What they'd seen, what they believed would shape a kid into an adult. It just didn't work, not for me. I spiraled, trouble with the law, trauma, abuse, the whole story. That whole story. This was a time in life when autism was Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man and BPD was single white female. Sorry, my brain is constant movie references. I was not expecting to cry. I'm going to take 2 seconds and go blow my nose because fuck me. Be right back. Don't know if you guys saw that, but my mic almost fell over. I now understand what my wife feels like when she sits down and just starts fucking crying on the podcast. I hope you guys are enjoying this at least. Vibe says, I'm still here doing dishes. Everyone take some deep breaths. Iggy said, you're doing a good job, Chris. We're proud of you, dude. Gothic Momo, this is intense. All right, guys, I appreciate that you guys are fucking throwing some support my way. It means a lot. To continue, I never want these kids to live like that. I never want them to feel like they're walking on eggshells. I'm glad I got my tissues. Like love is conditional. Like they can't mess up without it blowing up into something bigger. That shit leaves a mark. I'm trying to break that cycle even on days where I feel like I'm hanging on by a thread. I know there will be times that I mess up. We all will. It's inevitable. None of us are perfect, yet trying is more than I got. Now, maybe this chapter doesn't really fit with the main theme of this book. Maybe it's a tangent right now. I don't even know what this book will fully become, but what I do know is this. I want to have real conversations about what happens after love, after it crashes and burns, about what you do in that ugly in-between space after breakups, after divorce, about rebuilding not for someone else, but for yourself. Because if you don't do the work, if you skip that brutal, beautiful, necessary part, you're just dragging your past into your future. And that's no kind of love at all. So yeah, on with the show. That's chapter 1. Oh, 30 minutes in. She's going to be gone for a while. I might actually get a few of these chapters done. Chapter 2. Breakups are hard, divorce is harder. It doesn't matter if you were the one who walked away or the one who got left. Pain is coming either way. Breakups and divorces hurt. They tear through your sense of stability, your idea of the future, and they shake your identity. There's heartache, of course. There's grief, but there's also fear. Fear of what's next. Fear of the unknown. Fear of being alone. Fear that maybe you made the wrong call. And when it's divorce, it gets heavier. Now you're talking lawyers, paperwork, financial pressure, custody battles, and endless emotional exhaustion. Even if you were the one who made the decision, even if you know deep down it was the right thing to do, that doubt still creeps in. Did I do the right thing? That question haunts a lot of people long after the final decision has been made. Before we get into anything else, let's stop there. Let's talk about that moment. The second guessing, the regret, the back and forth in your mind. It's normal, it's human, and it's part of the process. But I want you to remember one thing. If you're going through a breakup or a divorce, there's a reason that it got to this point. Something wasn't working, something broke, something wasn't right. Maybe your partner checked out and chased something away. I'm sorry. Maybe your partner checked out and chased something new. Maybe they cheated. Maybe there was no sex. Maybe money became a constant fight. Maybe it was just emotional distance that stretched too far. Whatever the reason, there is one. And here's the hard truth. Part of it is on you. Or maybe it was. Maybe it was just all you. Maybe you were the one who pulled away. Maybe you were the one who cheated. Maybe you drank too much, lost control too often, said things you couldn't take back. Maybe you didn't listen. Maybe you dismissed their pain, ignored their pleas, made them feel invisible. And now, maybe they're the ones standing there holding the broken pieces, wondering what the hell happened to the person they once trusted. Or maybe it's you standing there alone, staring down the rubble of what used to be your marriage, trying to make sense of it all. Maybe you're asking yourself, how did I let this happen? How did I get caught up in this mess? Why didn't I stop drinking? Why didn't I notice the damage I was doing? Why didn't I change when I had the chance? If that's you, if those questions are running laps in your head, here's something you might not want to hear, but you need to. This might actually be the best case scenario. Why? Because now you're painfully, brutally aware of your shortcomings. You can see the damage. You're no longer in denial. You face the ugly truth of what you've done, and the clarity, that self-awareness, that's a gift. It doesn't feel like one right now. Right now, it feels like hell. But long-term, this is where healing starts. This is the ground floor of redemption. This is your shot at becoming someone better. And here's another hard truth. To some degree, no matter what side you're on, this is your fault. That's not to say all of your fault. That's not to say you deserve everything that happened, but you did play a role. You were in this relationship too. You helped build it and you helped break it. There are exceptions, of course. If you were abused emotionally, physically, psychologically, and you didn't provoke or perpetuate that cycle, then no, that's not on you. Some people are just broken in ways that we can't fix. If you were with someone like that and you made it out, I am deeply sorry for what you went through. And I'm glad you're free. It feels like those pages are stuck together. Where was I? You're alive. That matters. But for the rest of us, okay. Screen flickered. Sorry, guys. But for the rest of us, the ones who let things slide for too long, who hurt people we loved, who stayed silent when we should have spoken, or spoke in anger when we should have paused, this is the reckoning. This is the point where you either keep spiraling or you turn and face yourself. It's not about assigning blame just to sit in guilt. It's about owning it, learning from it, and using it to grow. Because if you do that, that's when real change begins. That's when the past stops being a prison and starts becoming your lesson plan. The rest of you, the ones who are sitting in this mess, trying to figure out what the hell happened, this is your moment to take a hard look at it all. Own what you can, learn what you need to learn, heal how you need to heal, but don't waste time pretending that you had no part in it. Growth starts with honesty, and healing starts with facing the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Because once you do that, you can truly start doing the work. Doing the work. I want you to stop for a second and breathe. And then I want you to go back to every single fight that you can remember, every blow up, every silent treatment, every sarcastic remark, every tear-streaked night. Think about the nagging, the yelling, the name-calling, the passive-aggressive digs, the eye rolls, the slam doors, the quiet bitterness that filled the room like smoke, all of it. Every repeated argument that kept showing up like clockwork. The ones you thought would eventually just go away. The judgment, the frustration, the resentment that built brick by brick until it became a wall neither of you could see over anymore. Now here's the part you need to hear and really hear. All of that chaos, all of that criticism, that was your partner begging you to understand them. It was their broken, messy attempt to communicate what they needed to feel seen, to feel heard. And if we're being honest, you didn't listen, you tuned out, you brushed it off. You rolled your eyes or shut down, you got defensive, you told yourself it was nagging, overreacting, complaining, but what it really was them reaching out in a way that only they knew how, asking you to meet them halfway or telling you what they needed you to change. You didn't. You wouldn't. You told yourself they're not going anywhere, we're married, this is for life, so you stopped trying. You stopped growing, you got lazy with your words, your affection, and your presence. You convinced yourself that love was automatic, that commitment meant safety, that they'd always be there no matter how disconnected things got. But here's the truth. No one wants to live out their life in misery. No one wants to wake up 10 or 15 years and realize that the only real joy that they can point to are a few vacations you took, that the rest of it was dinners eaten in silence, conversations that turned into surface level small talk, if anything. That sex became rare, scheduled, transactional, something done out of obligation, not desire, that their life partner had become a roommate or worse, a stranger. And no one wants to look ahead and see that as their future either. Whatever version of hell your relationship became, whether it was cold and quiet, or explosive and loud, it ended for a reason, and you need to find it. You need to stare it in the face, pick it apart, and learn from it, because if you don't, you will carry that same brokenness into every relationship after this one, including the one you have with yourself. Here's where I want you to start. Buy a journal. I said that in the introduction. And no, not some flimsy spiral notebook that you'll lose in a week. Get a good one. Leather-bound, refillable, something that feels solid in your hands. This isn't a Dear Diary exercise. This is a post-mortem and deep analytical breakdown of what went wrong. That part, with what part you played, where the rot started and how it spread. This journal isn't about shame. It's not about bashing your ex or wallowing in guilt. It's about clarity, ownership, growth. It's about building a roadmap so that you don't end up back here again, repeating the same patterns, making the same excuses. And here's where you start. Open it up to a fresh page and write down every single thing you two fought about constantly. I'm not talking about the one-off disagreements. I'm talking about the reoccurring battles, the arguments that circled back like clockwork, the ones that started as small annoyances but eventually grew teeth, the ones that turned into full-blown fights or worse, silence, because eventually someone gave up, someone got tired of talking about it, of begging for a shift, and just stopped bringing it up. But the resentment, that didn't stop, it just sank deeper. The Gottman Institute calls these perpetual conflicts. And let me tell you, they're not rare. In fact, in relationships where compatibility is off, they make up 75% of the fights. That's not a glitch in the system. That's a symptom of fundamental misalignment. I'll pause here for a minute and talk to you guys. This is why on the podcast, Peaches and I talk so often about the compatibility of your partners. It's why we created the couples questionnaire, the courting questionnaire. It's why we created the check-ins. We want to make sure that you guys are on the same page, because the reality is, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. So sorry about that. The reality is you guys aren't meant to be with everyone. The reality is you're going to put yourself in a whole lot of relationships because you don't want to be alone anymore, or the sex is good, that you're going to end up settling for a whole lot of shit that you shouldn't settle for. Compatibility means so fucking much, guys. Don't just fucking settle because this is good right now. Because good right now is not good forever. These are things that cut straight to the core of who you are and what you believe. Religion, money, parenting styles, sex drives, and how you handle emotions, how you spend your time, or even petty stuff that doesn't feel so petty when it's happening for the 100th time, like the toilet seat being left up, the dishes in the sink, the thermostat, the way you talk or don't talk during a fight. Now, here's the hard truth. There are parts of your partner you will never see eye to eye. You will never see with eye to eye on. There are parts of you they will never understand or accept either. And more importantly, you cannot change them. You can't logic someone into changing their core beliefs. You can't guilt them into evolving their personality. You can't manipulate someone into becoming a version of themselves that exists only to make you comfortable. If these perpetual fights were about things neither of you were willing or able to compromise on, then what you had wasn't just a relationship issue, it was a compatibility issue. And compatibility isn't just about surface level stuff. It's not about loving the same TV shows or both liking dogs. It's about how you navigate conflict, how you see the world, how you want to live, love, raise kids, spend money, manage time, express intimacy. And if those things don't line up, if your values are at odds, that gap only gets wider the longer you ignore it. You might have thought that love would be enough, that chemistry or history or shared moments would carry you through. But here's the thing. Love isn't a band-aid for being fundamentally different people who want different lives. So the first step in doing the work, the real deep, uncomfortable healing work, is addressing your perpetual conflicts. Face them, write them down, don't sugarcoat, don't rewrite history to protect your ego. Fuck. Do not rewrite history to protect your ego. I had to say that a second time. Or punish your ex. Be brutally honest. Ask yourself, what did we keep fighting about? Why did we never get, why did it never get resolved? I don't know why I couldn't do that while looking at it. Was I truly willing to compromise? Were these issues about actions or were they about values? And be honest, were we ever really aligned to begin with? This isn't about blame. This is about clarity. You can't move forward until you fully understand what you were stuck in and why. That sneeze loosened some stuff. Give me 1 second. Harley said sneezing that trauma out. Yeah, that was definitely a purge. All right, so open the journal, write it all out. Let it be messy. Let it be real. You're not just documenting the end of something. You're building the foundation of whatever comes next. And that starts with truth. This part, honestly, should be the easiest step in the entire process. Not because it's painless, but because it's just you, your past, and the page. No one's judging you. No one's interrupting you. And it's you finally getting real with yourself. And yeah, it might frustrate the hell out of you to relive all of this. It might sting to write it down, but this isn't about shame or blame. This is about discovery. This is the realization of who you are at your core, and hopefully you can see who they were at their core. Not the fantasy version, not the highlight reel, the real you, the real them. No filters, no excuses, no lies to keep the peace, just truth. And it's important to understand none of this is about malice. Most of the time, people don't hurt each other out of evil. They hurt each other because they are not aligned, because they're trying to force something that deep down isn't working. This is your chance to stop forcing. So grab your journal, go back to the questions, be ruthless, be honest. This is your mirror. Don't look away. And once that part's done, once you've unpacked the reoccurring fights, the incompatibilities, the places where you couldn't or wouldn't meet each other halfway, it's time to shift the lens forward. Now, I want you to start writing out your non-negotiables. The things that matter to you, not just in theory, but in practice. The things you know you need after living through a relationship that didn't work. Do you want someone who shares traditional values? Do you want something more progressive? How important is sex? What kind of sex do you need? Are you someone who needs affection daily, or is emotional security more your love language? What does retirement look like in your mind? Is it travel, stability, working late into life, early retirement on a farm somewhere? Question mark? Write it all down. Don't hold back. Think about that kind of communication. Think about what kind of communication you need. Think about what you want. Think about how you want to handle money with a partner. Think about conflict resolution, religion, parenting, intimacy, emotional intelligence, everything. Be specific, be bold. This isn't for anyone else but you. But eventually, it will be. Because this right here, this becomes your foundation. When you're ready to date again, when you start letting new people in, this list becomes the starting point for every meaningful conversation. It's the filter through which you'll protect your peace and guard your future. It's how you stop settling. It's how you stop repeating patterns. The goal isn't just to heal from the last relationship. The goal is to learn who you are, what you truly want out of life, and to become someone who can clearly communicate that to whoever walks into your world next. Clearly communicate that to whoever walks in. I should have put a comma there. This is how you make sure your next chapter isn't just different, it's better. The personal audit. If you did that last exercise and actually dug in, I hope it shook something loose. I hope it forced you to sit in something uncomfortable. Sit in some uncomfortable truths and see things a little clearer. That wasn't just busy work. That was step one in a full-scale audit of who you are, what you've tolerated, and what you want going forward. Now, if you're still in a relationship, if the ink isn't dry, if the lawyers aren't involved, if you're here just because you feel things slipping and you desperately are trying to figure out how to fix it before it's too late, this exercise might be your lifeline. Don't skip it. Don't half-ass it, because it isn't just about pointing fingers or tallying wrongs. This is about learning who the hell you really are and who they are too. It's a mirror, and sometimes what you see in that mirror is painful as hell, but it's also powerful. When you look at those lists, your conflicts, your non-negotiables, your core truths, you start to get a sense of whether this thing you're fighting for is actually something that can be rebuilt, or something that was never built right to begin with. Maybe you'll see hope, maybe you'll see a dead end, but either way you'll see, and that's the point. This is a personal audit, and this book, hell, most of this journey is going to be about you, not them, not your ex, not your current partner, not your past, you. Because here's the part too many people want to skip over. You cannot change anyone else. You can't force growth. You can't force understanding. You can't love someone into being the partner you need. I'm going to say that again. You cannot love someone into being the partner you need. You can only own your shit, and that's it. Your thoughts, your actions, your choices, your reactions, that's what you're responsible for. And all of the things, every decision you've made in your relationships and in your life have been shaped by three things. Should have said four, because I actually listed four things. The information you had, the habits you formed, your ego. That's it. That's the whole ecosystem of your behavior. And the more you understand which of those three is driving your decisions, the more power you have to change them. Because here's the secret. Once you know the pattern, you're not stuck anymore. Real shit, guys. I actually sent this to a couple people and none of you motherfuckers caught that. I didn't catch it either while writing it. That four shouldn't have been there. That four should have been removed and there should have been a paragraph. Errors. Knowing what's what, that's a superpower. Seriously. Most people spend their lives reacting blindly, getting triggered, deflecting blame, repeating the same patterns, and then wondering why everything keeps falling apart. It's pretty sad that we live like this and never stop to take accountability. However, now you're doing the work. You're stepping up to the plate to figure out what's actually going on inside you. Hopefully, you never have to repeat this again. And that exercise you just did, that was the beginning. It was your first step toward self-awareness, the kind that's uncomfortable, unfiltered, and absolutely essential if you want to rebuild your life on something real, because you can't build a better relationship with anyone until you figure out the relationship you have with yourself. Ready for the next round? Gridlocked fights. How many times did the two of you have the same fight? Not just once, not twice, over and over. It kept showing up like an unwanted guest who refused to leave, and every time it did, it ended the same way. Unresolved, both of you exhausted, both of you frustrated, both of you still not heard. You wanted them to get it, to really get it. You weren't just yelling to yell. You were trying to be understood. You wanted them to see it from your side, not to win, not to dominate, but because deep down you believed that if they could just understand, they would finally change. And if they were probably thinking the same thing about you, so you guys went in circles endlessly. You'd bring it up, they'd push back, tempers would rise. Maybe you'd shut down, maybe they would. Maybe it turned into a shouting match or a quiet withdrawal, and eventually life would just resume out of necessity. You had to go to work. You had to feed the kids. You had to act like everything was fine. So the fight got shoved onto the back burner, but make no mistake, it was still on, still simmering, still waiting to boil over again. And it did, over and over, each time messier than the last, because the issue never left. It just hid. It turned into baggage, and you both kept carrying it. That kind of unresolved conflict is one of the most emotionally exhausting things a person can experience in a relationship. It's draining. It chips away at your connection, your safety, your love. It makes you feel alone, even while standing right in front of the person you're supposed to feel closest to. You start thinking, why can't they just let this go? Or maybe, why am I still angry about this? Why hasn't this gone away? Why won't they fix it? You're waiting, sometimes silently, sometimes not, for them to do something that makes that feeling disappear. But when nothing changes, the resentment grows, communication dies, and eventually the fight stops, not because it's over, but because you both gave up. And most couples, that's exactly what they do. They don't resolve it. They bury it until it comes back louder, angrier, and more destructive the next time. But here's what I've learned. Hard lessons from my own life, from my own relationship with Peaches. Resolution isn't about winning. Resolution is not about winning. It's about making the other person, it's not about making the other person surrender to your version of the truth. It's about understanding. It's about meeting each other in the middle of the hard stuff. Sometimes it starts with a simple phrase, I can see how that made you feel. I understand why you'd see it that way, and I get it. I just don't agree. That's when conversation starts to shift. That's when things goes deeper. That's when it goes deeper. That's when you talk about whether anything can or should change, if there's room for compromise, or what if you're dealing with is actually a non-negotiable, something rooted in who you are, not just what you do. When you hit those walls, those moments where your partner is asking you for something that makes you deeply uncomfortable, that is your cue to stop bullshitting and speak the truth. Don't hide behind pride. Don't lie to protect your image. Don't try to save the other person's feelings. Say it. Tell them why it's hard for you. Tell them what's underneath your resistance. Let them see the real you, vulnerable, honest, scared, hurt, whatever it is, because sometimes the thing you're afraid to admit is the very thing that could change everything. They might surprise you, or you might learn that they can't handle the truth you carry. Either way, you'll know. And knowledge is power. You could also be saving yourself years of headache by having the hard talk right away. You're already miserable. Do you want to continue to do this, or do you want to move past it? Now, if you're already out of the marriage, if the relationship is over, this is still for you, especially for you, because this is your practice round for the future. This is where you learn how to never carry unresolved mess into your next chapter. Get a journal, get your journal, write it all down. Every single chapter in this book is going to tell you to grab your journal. So if you guys haven't got a journal yet, and we're 2 chapters or 3 chapters, however far we're into this book, I think this is the end of chapter 2. You really do need to buy a journal. I personally am a big fan of leather journals. I have one in every room of the house. I have one in my van. I have one. I actually think I have one in every vehicle I own. I carry one in my backpack. They're all leather bound. None of them are like crazy expensive, but none of them are cheap either. And I buy a lot of them from Etsy because you can have them customized. Okay. Get your journal, write it all down. What were the issues? How did you handle them? What were you feeling when you made the decisions you made? Why did you act that way? Be honest, no fluff, no PR spin for your ego. Go deeper. Were you overly close with a coworker? Did it start off innocent but turn into something that crossed the line? And when your partner asked you to stop, you resisted. Why? Was it because your person made you feel seen? That person made you feel seen? Made you laugh when your partner hadn't in a long time? Made you feel attractive, appreciated, alive? Or maybe it was something else, like your drinking, the late nights, the video games, the way you shut down and escaped instead of showing up. Maybe they begged you to change, to come back, to be present, but you didn't. Because those things were the only relief you had from a life that felt heavy and joyless. And you didn't know how to say, I'm miserable. I put that in italics. I'm miserable. Maybe you're trying to protect yourself from the hurt of the truth, and your silence did so much more damage. This is your moment to say it, to yourself at least. Write it down, face it, own it. Because this is how you change, not by beating yourself up, not by denying or deflecting, but by telling the unfiltered truth to the only person who needs to hear it right now, you. Meditate on this, write about it, take accountability. Not because it makes you a martyr, but because it makes you free. You want to grow, you want to have a real relationship in the future, one that's healthy, honest, and whole, then you have to do this deep dive within yourself. You have to own your shit. Because healing doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention. And this is your chance to take control of the story you're going to live from this point forward. It's only 2:30. I have like another hour. I'm gonna keep going, guys, until I hear kids come home. If you guys want to hang out in the chat, that's cool. Harley said I'm gonna write these prompts out for my parents. That's awesome. If you're looking for a cheaper option but still solid, Walmart has good ones, especially with the back to school deals. That's a good call too. Cozy said, cool, I'm not the only one who has multiple journals around the house. I thought, do I have too many from time to time? There's nothing worse than needing to write something down and then having to find the thing that you need to write in and then losing that thought process. When I can't find my journal, like quickly, I will pop open my note and I will just speak into a note document so that thought's still there, and then I'll refine it later in my journal. Get a drink and then we'll keep going. I love that Yeti cup. It's a pitcher. The illusion of closure. Chapter 3, the illusion of closure. Let's talk about closure. More specifically, the lie we tell ourselves about needing it. Ooh, this is pissing people off. You think you could just have one more talk, one more sit down, one more conversation to clear the air that you'd be free. You think that if they just understood where you're coming from, if they would just admit to what they did, maybe apologize, or even just show they still care, then you could finally let go. Move on, heal. But that's not how it works. That's not how people work. Closure, at least the way you're thinking of it, is a myth. It's a trap. It's a trap. We convince ourselves some deep soul-bearing final conversation is going to somehow tie a bow on all of the pain and confusion. But what you're really doing is buying time, keeping the wound open, giving yourself a reason to stay emotionally invested. You're not searching for peace. You're trying to hold on without admitting that that's what you're doing. You don't want closure. You want it to make sense. You want it to hurt less. And maybe you want to see if there's even the tiniest chance that they'll change their mind. But here's the harsh truth. If they cared, they would have already given you the clarity you're begging for. Closure isn't about a final conversation. It's about a final decision. It's you choosing to stop giving them space in your mind. It's you accepting that they may never say what you wanted to hear. And that even if they did, it probably wouldn't change anything. Here's what really happens in those final conversations. You walk in with hope and leave with more questions. You end up arguing about the same things that broke you in the first place. You say too much or not enough, and then you replay it for days. You get sucked back into the drama, even for a night, even if for just a night. And afterwards, you don't feel lighter. You feel used up, drained, ashamed that you even gave them another chance to confuse you. Let me be blunt. You do not need their permission to move on. You do not need their validation to let go. You do not need their apology to heal. Closure is not a conversation. Closure is a choice. You're allowed to close the door without them standing on the other side of it. You're allowed to stop explaining yourself to someone who never heard you to begin with. You're allowed to delete the thread, block the number, and ignore the message. You're allowed to choose peace over proof. And if you're still looking for a reason, still wanting some magical moment where it all clicks, let it be this. They left, or you left because you had to. Either way, it ended, and that's the only closure you need. Now you get to write down the rest of the story, not with a broken heart, begging for resolution, but with your head up, knowing that healing was never going to come from them anyways. Sometimes when we say we want closure, what we really want is one more chance to be chosen. We want to feel like it's still, like we still mattered, like we were worth fighting for. Like maybe, just maybe, if we say the right thing or look the right way, they'll finally wake up and realize they fucked up. But closure that's built on their validation, that's not closure. That's still codependency in disguise. Closure is you choosing yourself. It's not something they give you. It's something you build. It's the moment you stop checking their socials. It's when you delete the text you keep rereading. It's when you stop defending them to your friends. It's when you quit telling the story of what happened like you were waiting for someone to say, wow, you are so right. I don't know how you stayed as long as you did. Closure is walking away and not turning around to see if they're watching. Closure doesn't come from Closure doesn't come from them explaining why they did what they did. It comes when you finally accept that it happened and they won't change. They didn't care in the way you hoped. And yeah, that fucking hurts. I wrote freaking because I was trying to cuss in my book, but I'm recording this. I'm going to talk the way I want. But it also sets you free. You don't need their explanation. You need to stop bleeding from a wound that you keep reopening by chasing answers from someone who never realized. Wow, that was way off. Ace Ventura that and go back. You need to stop bleeding from a wound you kept reopening by chasing answers from someone who never knew how to love you right in the first place. You want something real. Sit in your room and tell yourself the truth that you love them, that you gave your best, that you stayed longer than you should have, that you fought harder than you ever did or they ever did, that you saw potential, not reality, that you wanted to believe so badly you kept breaking your own heart over and over just to feel close to them. Own it, all of it. And then decide you don't need another ounce of pain to prove that you were loyal. Let them go. Let go of the fantasy where they come back and say everything you wanted to hear. Let go of the scenario where you finally grow up, or they finally grow up. Let go of the idea that they'll ever be the person you needed. Let go of the shame, the blame, the bullshit. Closure is saying, I didn't deserve that. I know better now. And I'm done reaching back into the fire, hoping that it won't burn me this time. You don't need their version of the story to move forward. Closure is a lie. It's a lie we tell ourselves when we're not ready to accept the ending. It's the final excuse to hold on to something that already slipped through our fingers, to romanticize it, build it up like there's magic conversation that'll suddenly make everything hurt less. Like if they just did the right thing, if they just gave us a reason, we'd finally be able to let go. But there's no perfect reason. There's no final conversation that wraps it all up with a bow. If you're waiting for that, you're not healing. You're giving your energy to a dead situation, hoping it twitches one last time. You're replaying the best moments and ignoring the truth. The love you thought you had isn't what it turned into. Maybe they said sorry, maybe they didn't, maybe they cried, maybe they did, maybe you did. But if I'm sorry came with no changed behavior, it wasn't an apology, it was manipulation. I'm going to say that again. If I'm sorry came with no changed behavior, it wasn't an apology, it was manipulation. If they loved you like you needed, you wouldn't be here reading this, wishing it had gone differently. This is where you wake up, where you stop calling pain growth, where you stop calling pain growth just to justify staying, where you stop telling yourself you're okay with less because the idea of being alone terrifies you. This is where you get honest, brutally honest. You loved someone who didn't show up. You begged to be chosen. You gave too many chances, and that ends now. You don't need closure. You don't need closure. You need to close the door. You need to stop answering calls that drain you. Stop reading old messages like they hold the answers. Stop imagining a version of them that doesn't exist anymore, or maybe never did. Let it be done. Let the silence stay silent. Let your heart break, and let that break make space for something real. Because the truth is that person isn't your person, at least not the way you thought they were. Maybe they never were, and that's okay. It's okay to grieve what you thought it could be. It's okay to love the memory and still never go back. But now it's time that you choose you. You rebuild from here, not because they apologized, but because you got answers, but because you finally realized you're worth more than confusion and breadcrumbs. But because you finally realized you're worth more than confusion and breadcrumbs. You don't need the permission to move on. You just need the guts to stop waiting. That's closure, and that's yours now. Maybe, just maybe, you were the problem. Maybe it wasn't them. Maybe you were the one who shut down every hard conversation. Maybe you rolled your eyes, and when they tried to explain how they felt, maybe you ignored the signs, the warnings, the chances they gave you, and now here you are, single, replaying every moment you brushed off like it didn't matter. If that's the case, don't go crawling back unless you're ready to be a completely different person. They deserve more than what you gave them. So will the next person. If you were the one who broke someone open because you couldn't get your shit together, you've got a lot of work to do. Read that again because of my stuttering there. If you were the one who broke someone open because you couldn't get your shit together, you've got a lot of work to do. Own that. Don't run from it. And for the love of everything, don't drag that brokenness into someone else's life just because you're lonely. This isn't the part where you beg. This is the part where you evolve. So keep reading. You've got work to do. Chapter 4, your ex doesn't get to win. Let's just get right to it. Your ex doesn't get to win. Not in your head, not in your heart, not in your future. They don't get to keep playing reruns in your mind like a broken record every time you try to move forward. They don't get to show up in your daydreams and your worst case scenarios or in a way that you second guess yourself. They don't get to shape the person you're becoming after the storm they helped create, not unless you let them. And I'm telling you right now, it's time to stop letting them. I know the pain. I know that it lingers. I know how it sneaks in at night when you're trying to get sleep or during the day when something small reminds you of what used to be. I know how it hits you when you least expect it. The smell of their shampoo still lingering and an old hoodie you forgot you had, a song on the radio, a memory that crashes into you out of nowhere. But here's what you need to understand. They don't win unless you stay stuck. Stay stuck. Letting go isn't about pretending it didn't hurt. It's about denying. It's not about denying the love you once felt or rewriting history to paint them as a villain just to feel better. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving something to them. This is about reclaiming your power. This is about taking back the parts of yourself that you gave away, the parts you silenced to keep the peace, the parts you dimmed so they could shine, the dreams that you shelved so that they didn't feel insecure, the boundaries that you dropped so that they wouldn't be called selfish, or so that you wouldn't be called selfish. The boundaries you dropped so you wouldn't be called selfish. You get those parts back now. You get to rebuild the version of yourself that's been buried under years of compromise and accommodation. You get to stop explaining your worth to someone who refused to see it. You get to stop shrinking in hopes that they'd step up. You get to stop letting them live rent-free in your mind. Think about this. The longer you sit in resentment, the longer they still own a piece of you. The longer you rehash every argument, every betrayal, every moment that you were made to feel small, the more you let them call the shots from a distance. They don't get to win by still having that kind of power over you. You win when you get your peace back. You win when you start sleeping through the night again. You win when you stop obsessing over what they're doing, who they're with, and whether they miss you. Because that's obsession. It's poison. It's slow drip heartbreak on repeat, and you deserve better than that. Look, I'm not here to shame you for missing them, for loving them, for mourning the version of your life that had them in it. That's real. It's valid. But there comes a time when you have to decide that missing them isn't worth losing yourself. They are not the relationship that broke. You are not the relationship that broke you. You are not the partner they didn't appreciate. You are not the fight that ended it. You are not every breath that you are every breath that you take after that. Probably should edit this shit. You are every breath you take after that. Every boundary you set, every time you say no to the wrong energy, every time you choose peace over chaos, that's your power, and that's how you win. Revenge isn't success. It's not about showing them how well you're doing or hoping that they see you thriving and happy on social media. True success is when you don't even care if they see it. It's when you're so focused on your own growth, their existence doesn't shake you anymore. It's when your happiness is no longer attached to their presence or their absence. When your mood doesn't fluctuate based on what they're posting or who they're seeing, that's when you know you're healing. Don't give them your future. Don't give them your future. They already had your past. Don't let the voice in your head sound like theirs. Don't keep arguing with them in your imagination. Don't keep arguing with them in your imagination. I really should edit this. Saying all the things you wish you said, that's wasted energy. That's time you could be spending on you, on rebuilding, reconnecting, and rediscovering the parts of your soul that went quiet when they were around. You get to grow now. You get to be someone new, someone free. The best revenge is peace. The best comeback is no comeback at all. It's not needing to prove a damn thing because you've moved so far beyond them, they're not even in the rear view anymore. They don't get to win, you do. So get up, dust yourself off, and take your power back. One of the most common traps people fall into after a breakup is they need to stay connected or stay in contact. Maybe it starts as we're just checking in, or we're trying to stay civil, or they just needed to talk. But if we're keeping it real most of the time, it's not about being nice, it's about guilt. It's about habit. It's about unfinished emotional business that's bleeding over into your healing. We tell ourselves we owe them a response, that it's the mature thing to do, that we need to keep it amicable, that we should be available just in case they need something, just in case they're struggling too. You start thinking that maybe if you're polite enough, calm enough, helpful enough, the fallout will hurt just a little bit less or be less. But let's be very clear. You don't owe them a damn thing. Not your time, not your energy, not your attention, not your comfort. The second that relationship ended, you were released from the role of caretaker, partner, emotional dumping ground, or emotional safety net. That position is filled by them. They're responsible for their mess now, not you. And still, there's that little voice in your head whispering, what if? Yeah, what if? The reality is that's not your problem anymore. I know that sounds cold. It's hard not to care for someone that you used to love. You want them to do good, but that's not on you anymore. And it might be, and you might be too. That's not on you on anymore. I think I probably left that in. Probably meant to delete that and didn't. Anyways, you are not responsible for how they process their consequences. You are not their emotional life jacket. If you spent real time with someone, years or even months, they learned you, your triggers, your soft spots, your trauma responses. They know what buttons to press to get a reaction, to keep you on the hook. And they'll do it if it benefits them. Not always out of malice, sometimes out of desperation, sometimes out of fear, sometimes just because they don't want to be the one hurting, the only one hurting. Misery loves company, right? Sometimes they might be lonely and hoping for something, anything that you can give them to make them feel better. But that's not your responsibility anymore. You've got to get honest with yourself. When they text, when they call, when they throw a breadcrumb of attention your way, what are they actually saying? I miss you. I still care. I'm sorry. Or just, I'm lonely. I know you'll answer. I'm uncomfortable with silence and I need to feel in control again. I want to see if I still have access to you. You don't need to respond to any of it. None of that is going to change the past. It's not going to help your future. The reality is, if your marriage ended, you clearly couldn't make it work. There were a ton of issues. There, and you were not compatible. I missed the not there. See it for what it is, accept that not everyone is meant to be together. Let it go to voicemail. Let the text sit unread. Let them wonder. Let them stew. Not to be cold, not to be petty, but to protect your peace. Because every time you answer, you're letting them take a piece of you again. You're opening a door you're supposed to be closing, and it's ripping that scab off every time. How will you heal if you keep picking at it? And this isn't about being the bigger person. That's another lie we tell ourselves to stay attached. You can be kind and still say nothing. You can wish them well and move on. You can forgive them and still block their number. Healing requires boundaries. I will say it again. Healing requires boundaries. Not the kind you set for other people, but the kind you set for yourself. The kind that says, I love myself enough to stop letting you take from me. They had access to you and they lost it. That's on them. Stop answering out of guilt. Stop replying because you feel bad. Stop explaining yourself. Stop negotiating your peace. You don't owe them access to you anymore. They already had that. You already tried. Now it's about you, your healing, your time, your energy. And trust me, if they really cared the way that they say they do, they respect your distance. They respect your silence. They'd back off. But if they're still calling, still texting, poking at your peace, it's not about love. It's about control. about keeping you close enough to pull you back in to continue to hurt you, but far enough to avoid accountability. And the only way they get to do that is if you let them. Hurt people hurts people. So stop letting them. Unfollow, mute, block, delete the thread. Take your hand off the burner. They know how to light the fire. You don't have to get burned anymore. Walk away. You don't owe them a damn thing. I know I talk a lot on the podcast, but damn, reading this has got me hoarse. I know the word win, in quotations, win, is going to trip some people up. There's already someone reading this to argue, how can you say that? That sounds too harsh. That's petty and narcissistic. Relationships aren't about winners and losers. Yeah, I've heard all of it. And if you're still deep in your feelings about your ex, still trying to keep the peace, or mature, this might feel like a punch to the gut. I'm not here to sugarcoat. I'm here to tell you the truth. Because every time you cave, every time you let them get under your skin, every time you let them manipulate your emotions, every time you let them use your kids as leverage, every time they threaten you with court, money, silence, or guilt, every time you go back and explain yourself to someone who isn't listening, you are losing. And I don't mean losing on some petty high school breakup kind of way. I mean, you are actively surrendering your peace. You are letting them dictate your emotions. You're handing over your healing. You are giving up ground that you've been clawing your way back from. That's what I mean by don't let them win. Because when you let them win, because when you let them drag you back into the bullshit, that's a loss. When you lose sleep, your appetite, your focus, because they know exactly what to say to get a rise out of you, that's a loss. When you spend your whole day angry, replaying a text, writing and rewriting responses, spiraling about what might happen next, that's a loss. And they know it. So do you. They know how to hit you where it hurts. They know your triggers. They know what makes you spiral, because once upon a time, they knew you. Maybe better than anyone. And if they're the kind of person who feeds off control, who needs to feel powerful, who's bitter that you left or that you're okay without them, they're going to use it. They'll bait you, poke at you, pretend that they're being reasonable while throwing emotional bombs into your lap. They'll say things that they know will haunt you. They'll twist your words and call it honesty. They'll weaponize your past. They'll pretend it's about the kids. They'll pretend it's about closure. They'll pretend it's about fairness, but it's not. It's about power. It's about control. It's about keeping you hooked. And every time you respond out of guilt, every time you react out of anger, every time you let them throw you off center, they win. So yeah, I said what I said. Don't let them win. Not because it's a game, but because this is your life, your peace, your healing. And because you got to protect that like it's sacred, because it is. They already took enough from you. Time, trust, energy, years that you can't get back. Maybe they broke your heart. Maybe they wrecked your self-worth. Maybe they left you questioning everything. Maybe you were 100% the problem, and if so, that's super dope, because you can fix you. And now you're rebuilding brick by brick. Sweat, tears, therapy, journaling, sitting in silence, letting go of dreams that died. You're doing the work. So why the hell would you hand them a crowbar and let them start knocking pieces loose again? You've got boundaries now. Use them. You've got clarity now. Trust it. You've got self-respect again. Protect it like your life fucking depends on it. Because the second you prioritize keeping the peace with them over keeping the peace within you, you start losing again. And you didn't survive what you survived to go back to that. So block the number, send that shit to voicemail, hand it off to your lawyer. Take your hand off the damn stove, let them stew in their own chaos. You don't owe them emotional access to you. You don't owe them a reaction. You don't owe them you. And every time you hold your line, every time you stay calm, every time you protect your energy, that is a win. Not because you beat them, but because you didn't let them beat you again. So no, I'm not talking about being spiteful. I'm talking about reclaiming your power. I'm talking about finally breaking the cycle. I'm talking about stepping into the next version of your life and refusing to let your past dictate your terms. Dictate the terms. Don't let them win. Not today, not again, not ever. Chapter 5, the weight of the past. Let's talk about that thing most people carry around but barely let go of, the past. Not the highlight reel, not the cute memories. I'm talking about the heavy stuff that you bury so deep, even you don't want to look at unless you're having a breakdown or drunk at 2 a.m. That stuff, it builds up. And eventually it starts to run your life, and it shows up in your silence. And your quick temper and your low self-worth and the way you push people away before they can hurt you, and the way you chase validation from anyone who offers it. Regret, guilt, shame, those are ingredients in this cocktail. And most of us drink it every damn day without realizing how toxic it actually is. Maybe you stayed in a relationship way too long. Maybe you walked away too early. Maybe you weren't a good partner or a good parent or a good version of yourself. Maybe you cheated. Maybe you lied. Maybe you just gave up when you should have fought. Whatever it is, it happened. And now you live with that. And let's be real, some days that weight feels unbearable. Here's the part that no one wants to say out loud. You can't change it. It happened. You were there. You made the call, or you didn't. And the outcome was what it was. Wishing it were different doesn't fix it. Replaying it on loop in your head doesn't undo all that doesn't undo it. All that does is anchor you to a version of yourself that no longer exists. The problem isn't that you made a mistake. The problem is that you're still living in it. The problem is that you're still living in it. You've set up camp in your shame. You've made your guilt part of your identity. You tell yourself you deserve to feel like this because of what you did or what you didn't do. And now you're dragging that identity into every new chapter of your life, wondering why nothing feels good anymore. I'm going to hit you with some hard truth here. You are not your past. Yeah, it shaped you. It taught you some things, but it doesn't define who you are now or who you're becoming unless you let it. And I get it. There's comfort in your pain. You know you're used to it. It's familiar. It's predictable. Sometimes the pain is the only thing that still feels real, but comfort can be a trap. Familiar doesn't mean safe. Pain doesn't mean punishment. Just because you've lived with this weight for a long time doesn't mean that you're supposed to carry it forever. So let's talk about what to actually do with it. Step 1, own it, all of it. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't rewrite it to make yourself look better. Don't blame it on circumstances or other people. If you screwed up, say it. If you ghosted someone, say it. If you broke someone's heart, ignored the red flags, or ran instead of stepping up, say it. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Look yourself in the mirror and stop pretending you don't know the truth. You can't heal what you keep lying about. Step 2, give yourself some fucking grace. I don't mean let yourself off the hook. I mean treat yourself like a human being who made choices based on what you knew, who you were, and what you had at the time. You weren't perfect. You didn't have all the tools. Maybe you were hurt. Maybe you were scared. Maybe you didn't think you deserved better. That doesn't excuse everything, but it does explain it. You can't grow from your past if you keep using it as a weapon against yourself. Step 3, shift your focus from what if to what now. This one matters. You can't spend the next 5 years regretting what you did. You can spend the next 5 years regretting what you did, or you can spend them building something better. One keeps you on a loop. The other moves you forward. Your call. Regret without action is emotional self-harm. If you're going to feel this much, at least make it mean something. Take what you've learned and start showing up differently. That's where healing begins. You've already paid enough. The sleepless nights, the self-loathing, the anxiety, the years of wasted feeling like trash because you made a mistake you can't undo. Enough. You don't have to carry that into every room you walk into. You get to outgrow your old self to evolve. You get to start over, not because you forget, but because you've earned it. You're not broken. You're rebuilding. And you're allowed to create a life that the old you couldn't even picture. You are not broken. You are rebuilding. And you are allowed to create a life that you couldn't even picture. Pull out your journal. Yeah, your handy dandy notebook. You knew it was coming. Write down everything you're still carrying, every should've, every what if, every mistake you haven't forgiven yourself for. Put it all on paper, let it breathe, and decide what you're going to do about it. Next time you have a bonfire or fire pit, burn this paper and let it go. Pause there for a minute. I really am a put it to the flame person. I believe that there's something mystical about writing down all of your ugly and burning it. I use my journaling to get out all of my ugly so that it doesn't splash my family when it comes out verbally. That's the only way that I can explain that to you guys. When I journal, my journaling is the raw, unfiltered, evil, ugly, just disgustingness that is in me before I'm able to diplomatically express my needs and wants to my family or my wife. When I put all that shit down on paper, and I've done this while in medicine, part of my intentions or what I was trying to get out of the medicine. I've burned that paper while in the medicine, and there's a release that comes from that shit. And I don't care if you are Christian or spiritual or pagan or whatever you fucking believe in. There's a truth in that. Fight me on it. Full chest. Kidding. Don't fight me on it. I'm fragile. I don't even know where I was. Because that pain, that weight, it can either bury you or build you. You're not stuck. You're not doomed. You're just at a crossroads. And now it's time to choose. Live in your past or learn from it and move forward. Your future isn't going to wait for you to stop beating yourself up. So stop looking back. Start showing up. This is where everything changes. Accountability. Let's talk about accountability. The real kind, not the surface level bullshit that people throw around when they want to say, my bad, and move on. I'm talking about the uncomfortable, sometimes gut-wrenching kind, the kind that makes you sit with yourself and face your reflection without flinching. Accountability gets a bad rap because most people confuse it with blame. They think it means dragging themselves through the mud, shaming themselves over and over again for every dumb choice that they've ever made. They confuse it with punishment, with guilt, with judgment, but that's not accountability. That is self-destruction. Real accountability is different. It's about ownership. It's about standing up and saying, yeah, that was me. I did that. I didn't show up. I caused pain. I dropped the ball. And then instead of sinking into self-pity or beating yourself up until there's nothing left, you learn, you change, you do better next time. That's the difference. Self-blame keeps you stuck. Accountability pulls you forward. Let me break it down as clear as I can. Self-blame says, I'm a piece of shit. Accountability says, I fucked up, but I can fix this. See the shift? One is a cage, the other is a key. Most people avoid accountability because it means sitting in the heat. It means looking at the parts of yourself that aren't polished, the weak spots, the ego, the avoidance, the dishonesty. That's not fun, but it's where power lives. Think about it. You can change something. You can't change something you won't admit. When you're stuck in blame mode, either blaming yourself or blaming the world, you're not actually solving anything. You're just replaying the mess like a broken record, convincing yourself that this is who you are now. And that narrative, it becomes your identity. It becomes your identity. Guys, fuck, man, it becomes your identity. This I wanted to just go on a tangent about labels from my first book. And that identity will poison your relationships, your growth, and your peace. Let me put it like this. Your life is your responsibility. No one is coming to save you. Not everything happened to you was your fault, but every reaction you had, every choice you made in response to it, that is on you. You might have been hurt. You might have been lied to, abandoned, cheated on. The pain is real, but how you carry that pain and what you do with it is yours to own. That's accountability. It's not a punishment. It's power. I'm going to give you an example. Say you were in a relationship where you shut down emotionally. You avoided tough conversations. You got passive aggressive. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't cheat. Maybe you didn't scream, but you weren't present. You didn't engage, and now that person is gone. You can either say, well, they left because they were sensitive or controlling, or they couldn't handle me. Or you can sit down, and this is a journal prompt, and ask yourself, why did I shut down? What was I afraid of? Why didn't I speak up? What would I do differently now? That's the work. That's accountability. And if you actually do it, you won't just avoid making the same mistake. You'll become a better version of yourself. That's the part nobody talks about. Accountability is actually freedom. You want to stop hating yourself for your past? Own it. You want to stop repeating the same patterns in relationships? Own your role. You want to stop spinning your wheels in life, wondering why nothing ever sticks? Own your part in it. You don't have to hate yourself to take responsibility. You don't have to wallow in guilt, but you need to look at your shit, clean it up, learn, apologize when you should, and more importantly, change the behavior. Because if you say sorry, but you don't change anything, it's not accountability. Again, that's manipulation. There's nothing noble about pretending you're a victim of your own choices. There's nothing impressive about staying stuck and calling it self-awareness. The goal isn't to sit in the dirt and feel bad forever. The goal is to rise, to learn, to choose to do better, to be better, to be better. And look, this isn't easy. It takes guts. It takes humility. It means owning your ugly without letting it define you. It means letting go of your ego long enough to admit you didn't have it all figured out. I'll say that again. It means letting go of your ego long enough to admit that you didn't have it all figured out. But the second you do, the second you stop making excuses and start learning the truth, everything changes. People will respect you more. You'll respect yourself more. You'll stop attracting the same bullshit over and over again because now you actually see the role you played in all of it. And the clarity, it's a game changer. You'll stop letting your past hold you hostage. Here's something else. Accountability is also about making it right when you can. Maybe you owe someone an apology. Maybe you don't need to call them, but you need to stop talking shit about them in your head. Maybe you need to make peace with the fact that you weren't even the person you should have been in that season. And maybe now is your chance to become that person. Not for them, but for you. That version of you that made mistakes. They were doing the best that they could with what they had, but you're not them anymore. So stop living like you are. Grab your journal, write it down. Here they are. The biggest mistakes you've avoided. Damn it. The biggest mistakes you've been avoiding, take ownership of. What you did, why you did it, what did you learn, what should you have learned, and what are you going to do differently now? Not what they did, not it wasn't fair, what you did. You don't have to carry the past around like a chain around your neck. You can turn that chain into a ladder, climb the hell out of the hole that you dug, build something better with the mess you made. That's accountability. It's not easy, but it's liberating. Time to start being honest with yourself, start telling the truth again, and live like someone who deserves a second chance, because you do. The crossroads. Let's talk about choice. You're standing at a crossroads and you've got 4 paths in front of you. One loops back toward the past, familiar, predictable, and littered with the same old regrets, bad habits, broken patterns, and every mistake you promised yourself you'd stop making. Another is smooth, wide, easy. That one's tempting. It's the path where nothing really changes. It's comfortable, low risk, zero effort, but zero growth. It's the road you go to avoid the hard stuff. You'll stay the same. Your life will too. Then there's the third one, the hard climb, steep, rugged, full of sharp edges. It looks brutal as fuck. But at the top, there's peace. There's strength. There's clarity. It's a path where you can earn your growth one step at a time. And finally, there's the fourth, faint trail, no clear map, no guarantee, just risk, and a hell of a lot of unknowns. But that path, that's the one with potential freedom, discovery, and transformation. Which one would you take? Because you get to choose. And that's the truth most people don't want to hear. You're not trapped. You're not cursed. You're not stuck unless you decide to be. Yeah, the past happened. It left its mark. Maybe it left you scarred. Maybe it broke parts of you that you're still trying to glue back together. But here's the deal. The past isn't in charge anymore. You are. We all carry some kind of pain, some kind of failure, but that's not an excuse to stay the same. It's not a reason to settle. And it sure as hell isn't a reason to hand your future over to the version of you who is trying to figure it all out. Isn't a reason. The crossroads are real. We all hit it. And when you're standing in the moment, the choice you make says everything about where you're headed. Most people go back. Some settle for the easy way. Fewer take the hard climb, and only a handful step into the unknown. The past is loud. It wants to keep you right where you are. You'll hear the old voices telling you what you can't do, who you'll never be, and why nothing ever works out for you. And if you listen long enough, you'll start to believe it. But you have to shut that shit down because you've got work to do. You've got to challenge the lie that you're stuck. You're not. You never were. But it's easier to tell ourselves that story than to face the uncomfortable truth. You're where you are because of your choices. And you'll get to where you want to be the same way. So here's what you do. You own the story, not just the good parts, not just the pieces that make you look strong, all of it. The fear, the failure, the avoidance, the times you knew better and didn't do better, the times you were the villain in someone else's story. Write it all down, feel the weight of it, and then make a damn decision. You either carry that shit forever. I wrote weight, shit's fitting. You either carry that shit forever and let it define you, or you learn from it and use it to build the next version of you, the next version of who you are. Do you want to stay in that cycle? Keep doing the same thing. Keep choosing comfort. Keep choosing safety. Keep pretending change will just happen on its own. But if you want more, if you want to change, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to confront yourself, and you're going to have to climb. And it's going to suck sometimes. It'll hurt. You'll second guess everything. You'll look at the steep path and wish you'd chosen easier. But then one day you'll turn around and realize that you're not the same person anymore, that you're stronger, sharper, calmer, and the view worth every fucking step. If you always choose what's easy, you're going to live the life that feels small. If you choose to repeat the past, you're going to stay stuck in it. But if you choose to fight, to heal and grow, you're going to build something better. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need all the answers. You just need to decide that you're done letting the past run the show. This is your life, not your parents, not your ex, not your critics, yours. So what are you going to do with it? Will you keep choosing what's familiar, even if it's toxic? Will you keep choosing what's easy, even if it's small? Or will you choose the climb, the risk, the freedom? Time to get out your journal. I know, and in parentheses, I wrote, I know. Hopefully you carry it with you now while reading. Break it down. What patterns are keeping you stuck? What comfort are you clinging to? What old versions of you do you need to bury so that something new can grow? I'm going to pause for a second because I have to adjust and I want to touch on something. I saw something a couple months ago and it stuck with me, and it said that when you lose or you let go of things that you loved or like that are harming you, it's so that you can allow new things into your life. And this is burying you, right? If this is your past and you're holding on to all of this ugly, you have to let go all of that shit, so that your future can start taking root and grow. And you have to water it and you have to do the work to make sure that it roots and then stays healthy. But you have to make room for it, and that's burying the past. Back to the book. No one is coming to save you. Nobody's going to drag you down the right path. This is your choice to make. Look at your life and choose. Choose the pain that leads to growth over the comfort that leads to regret. Choose the climb, choose the unknown. Choose the version of you that's worth fighting for, because the future you doesn't come from waiting, it comes from doing. Self-compassion and showing up for yourself. All right, we've talked a lot about choices. We've talked about taking control of your life, rewriting your story, and stepping into something better. But the question still hangs in the air. How? How do you go from being someone stuck in old patterns to someone who actually builds something better? You start with self-compassion. Now, I know that word might sound soft to some of you, like it's all bubble baths and inspirational quotes, but that's not what we're doing here. We're not talking about ignoring your mistakes or pretending everything's fine. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook or it's giving yourself some grace, understanding, and space to grow that you would give someone you actually give a shit about. Let me ask you this. If your best friend came to you wrecked over a mistake they made, ashamed and hurting, beating themselves up, would you pile on it? Would you tell them, yeah, you really are a failure? No, you wouldn't. You'd listen. You'd validate them. You'd give them a little perspective. You'd tell them it's not the end of the world and they've got what it takes to bounce back. So why don't you do that to yourself? Most people are way too cruel to themselves. More cruel than they would ever be to someone else. They replay every failure, every regret, every wrong move over and over like a broken record. Then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they're exhausted. It's because they are constantly tearing themselves down from the inside out. That inner critic has to go. You want to heal, you want to grow, then start treating yourself like you matter, like you're worth fighting for, like you're someone who deserves to win at life just as much as anyone else. You want action. You want action steps? Good. Here they are. 1, learn to self-soothe without the bullshit. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have moments where the weight of it all comes crashing in. That's what you need to know, how to get your nervous system back online. That's when you need to get your nervous system back online. I'm not talking about pouring drinks, lighting cigarettes, or jumping into someone's DMs for a distraction. I'm talking about real ways to ground yourself. Take a walk, go lift weights, sit with your journal. Yeah, the handy dandy notebook, and just write it all out. No filter, get it out of your head and onto the page, breathe, take a long shower, put it on a playlist that hits you in the chest and let it all out. Whatever works for you, do it. Make it real. This is about calming your system so that you can think straight again, not numbing out to avoid it. Step 2, talk to yourself like someone you actually care about. Check your inner dialogue. You beating yourself up all day, you calling yourself names, putting yourself down, obsessing over every shortcoming. You wouldn't let someone talk to you. Should have been a period there. You wouldn't let someone talk to your kid that way. So why is it okay to talk to yourself that way? When those thoughts creep in, I'm such a screw up. I'll never get it right. I'm not enough. You shut that voice down, reframe it. I made a mistake, but I'm learning. Today sucked, but I showed up anyways. I've been through worse and I made it out. This isn't toxic positivity. It's not lying to yourself. It's giving yourself some damn credit. You survived the things that broke other people. You're still here, still trying, still showing up, and that's worth something. Number 3, do things that say, I love you to yourself. Let me be clear. Self-compassion isn't just mental. It's action. It's drinking water instead of soda. It's going to the gym instead of the couch. It's logging off your phone and getting to bed instead of doom scrolling until 3 a.m. It's saying no to people who drain you. It's eating a damn vegetable once in a while. I hate vegetables. It's doing the boring, unsexy shit that builds a better life. It's also saying yes to joy. It's also saying yes to joy. Let that sink in. Read a book, go outside, pet your dog, do things that remind you you're alive, that your life is yours, that you get to build it however the hell you want. Number 4, know that self-compassion equals strength. This part is for people who drink. This part is for people who think being hard on yourself is what makes you better. I can see people drinking from that. Who think if they go soft, they'll lose their edge. You're wrong. You don't get strong by beating yourself down. You get strong by building yourself up. Stop. Self-compassion doesn't make you weak. It makes you resilient. It gives you room to fail forward. It gives you the fuel to keep going when the shame spiral would have taken you out. You can't hate yourself into growth. You can only love yourself there. You've already lived through enough. You've carried the weight of your past. You've battled the old voices. You've done the hard things and made it out the other side. It's time to stop being your own enemy and start being your best ally. Show up for yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. And when you fall short, because you will, you don't throw in the towel. You don't burn it all down. You regroup. You take a breath and you get back to it. That's how you win. That's how you change your life. This is your moment right now. Start treating yourself like you matter, because you do. We're into chapter 6 is about to start. I'm almost positive my wife and kids are going to be home, so I'm going to wrap up for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to sit here for a minute and read the comments. So for those of you who are only here for the book, you can go ahead and shut this off. I just want to kind of look and see how everybody's vibing with this. I've stayed pretty consistent with between 35 and 40 people just listening to me read. Give me some feedback, guys. Rose Thorne said, I was so emotionally sick, it was making my physical health even worse. At the time, I didn't know that, but I'm not bedridden anymore. I was though, and it all started when I dove deep. I truly believe that our mental health will inflict physical symptoms of sickness into our body. Like stress can really fuck our body up. Stress is worse than smoking. There's a whole lot of shit that goes into that. I'm going to, guys, this is going to get released for free. I wrote this book, real shit. I wrote this book because I wanted to help people, but I also wanted to make money, right? Like we're trying to build a real brand in a future, and like trying to do this in a way that helps people, but allows us to live a life that we feel like we deserve to live. But I feel like this book is going to help people, and I'd rather it get out there versus making the money. And if I could just give this shit away, I would. I could probably do a PDF, but I don't think people are going to read it. I think that if there's not a financial investment, they're not going to do the work. And at least with this, people can put on earbuds and listen while they're working. There could be a dude right now, going through a fucking breakup underneath a car with his earbuds in, just fucking getting it after it. Hopefully he's not crying at work and doing the thing. So kids are definitely here. I can hear them. I can hear movement out in the other half of the house. So I am definitely going to wrap up. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you probably tomorrow or the day after.